Hey friends, David Miller, Phoenix, Arizona multimedia artist, educator, INFP creative, here with another video on clawing your way out of rock bottom if you are an INFP creative or just somebody who's in a steady state of depression. I want to give you some hot tips on things that might work for you. You know, everybody's individual and different, but if you are like me and you fit into the INFP Myers-Briggs category, you're a healer, a mediator, you're probably a sensitive soul who is idealistic about the world, and when you sink into depression, it's usually because your ideals are not met. Whether it's an ideal you have about yourself, about the world, other people, you know, these things kind of pile up, they drag us down, and when INFPs are not feeling their best, we don't want to be seen. So we put up walls, we've been hurt enough that we're like, I don't want to get hurt again. I can't be seen by other people in this way. And we also, because we're introverts and tend to fall to the shy side or the aloof side, as some people assume, we just cut off ties, we ghost. And then we have the difficult task of healing ourselves, which is harder than being there for other people, because we're stuck with ourselves all day long. And our faults, whatever they may be, are things we've carried with us our entire lives, probably. And, you know, how do you overcome that? If you're 20 years old and you have a problem that's been with you 20 years, if you're 44 years old and you've had problems that have been with you your entire life since your childhood, how do you recognize those things in yourself and how do you overcome them? So I want to talk about that in this video. Real quick, this is the second video in the series. So the first one sort of dealt with if you are so far in rock bottom that you can't get out of your bed, like you just have no motivation, no energy. I talked about things you could do to get your body moving in that previous video. So this time I'm gonna sort of assume that you're out and mobile, and where do we go from here? One thing that the INFP does when we're feeling really bad about ourselves is we isolate, we ghost, we cut off contact. We want to be good enough for the people that we normally deal with. And unfortunately, you know, those people that know us really well know when something's wrong, they ask what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And like, man, I just want to get on with my day. I want to be of service to other people. And so maybe you don't want to be seen by those people that normally associate with you, but there's a lot of people you've never met, and they don't have any baggage with you whatsoever. They don't know what you do for a living. They don't know what you're like at all times. And I have found being around people that don't know me very much makes it a lot easier to feel like part of normal society. Not to mention that there's a lot of people that I've never met that I find out have a lot of interesting stories, skills, jokes, stuff that I can pick up on, and it makes me feel good. To give you some examples, I was talking with a guy that makes my coffee, and I overheard him talk about a trip he took to Greece with his family, asked him about it. He set me up with a travel agent that has like really cool packages for international travel. Many of my neighbors, I wasn't aware of what they could do, and it turns out, you know, some of them can fix cars, and so we helped each other with that. Some make their own ice cream at home, and that's a cool experience. Meeting new people who don't have a preconceived notion of you makes life so much easier to deal with when you're dealing with people who know you so well and have seen you when you're better or when you're a little bit different. Or, you know, in my case, as an art photographer, a lot of people I associate with are models, so they expect me to take their pictures and stuff like that and do a good job of it, and I'm just not feeling that right now. It's just a lot easier to go out and meet those new people. They're all over the place, and they don't have to be your best friend. They can just be new acquaintances, people that you've seen at your favorite restaurant, cafe, gym that you've never spoken to before. It's like, hey, I'm trying to learn the names of the people I interact with. You know, what's your name? And that's all it takes to get the ball rolling. Now, the big thing most INFP creatives are known for is turning their feelings into their art. And you think of all the amazing works, music, movies, paintings, woodcuts, dances that are expressive, that have just like so much soulful emotion poured into them. That all came from the time when the creators were experiencing their rock bottom moments. If it was just expressing ordinary days, that's not of interest to any of us. And those of us who are sad, are depressed, are feeling withdrawn or isolated, we have the ability to turn to Pink Floyd's The Wall, Radiohead, The Bends, films where people have that as part of their character arc. And when we can relate to art, it makes us feel better, it inspired us to make our own art. And there's a lot of people who aren't creatives out there that need this stuff. They are like the big consumers of art with emotion because they're not producers of it. But I'm assuming you're a producer of it, and taking these dark moments, making something out of it, will remind you that you kind of need these dark moments in your life. Like, if all you did was watch TV and go to a job and, go out on the weekends to a barbecue or something like that, that's not really a satisfying life to me. And I don't know how you can make great art out of that, having just a regular basic life, to be perfectly honest. So this is your opportunity to make something really cool. You're gonna have to bare your soul to do it, but know that if you make this art, it doesn't have to be seen by other people. And if you are brave enough to put it out there, that some people will be haters, but I think a lot of people will come to your works because they appreciate how expressive and honest and authentic things you're making are. Self-improvement, this could be physical fitness, this could be learning new skills, this could be researching why you feel certain things and realizing that it's actually a condition that exists. For example, in the past, I've looked up the condition of derealization. This is where people don't feel like they're real or their life experiences aren't real. And it turns out it's actually pretty common amongst people of my age group, the Generation Xers who came home from school and use a key to open a door. We're called the latchkey kids because of that. And the reason we did that is because we only had one parent in the household who was working, or both parents were gone, and we kind of raised ourselves. Or I should say, like, TV helped raise us, because during my youth in the 80s, I'd come home to nobody, make myself whatever little food I knew how to make as a kid, and sit down and watch DuckTales and Transformers and things like that, So when you aren't growing up in a nurturing environment, and one where you can expect a parent to be there to feed and take care of you and be loving and be receptive to whatever you have to say, however you're feeling, when those aren't part of your daily life, you grow up thinking that you don't matter, that things aren't real, like your existence doesn't actually affect anything at all. This is how you get an attachment style where you are avoiding everything. And this is pretty common with INFPs. We don't want to bother people, and we don't want to cause a ruckus, and we take the blame for all the problems ourselves, and we avoid talking about things that could be settled if they were openly discussed. And that's one example of self-improvement. The physical fitness thing, running, doing dips on your couch or your bed, push-ups, planks, going up and down stairs. All of these things are free. They don't need a gym membership or another person or a trainer to do those things. And besides making your serotonin move around your body and make you feel better that way, you're going to probably see some gains pretty early on if you haven't indulged in physical fitness in a long time. That improvement is visible. It absolutely is an ego boost and confidence booster and helps get you out of rock bottom. And then learning new skills. Well, I'm learning to play piano. That's something I always wanted to do with my life. And, I had 5 years of Spanish in high school and kind of forgot it, but there's free ways to learn things. Obviously, YouTube, or you could take a 99-cent trial membership out in Skillshare. You can ask your neighbors if they have skills that you can pick up on, practice on. Duolingo is a good app for learning a language. And the good thing about learning skills when you're kind of isolating and not being on social media in public about it is that you're giving yourself the permission to be bad at something. We all know that you have to be bad at something before you can be good at it. So I would not IG story, if I was on Instagram, I would not be storying or YouTubing my piano playing right now because it's quite pitiful. But it's better than it was a month ago, and it'll be better next month if I keep at it. And more to the point, the piano, learning languages, learning stuff about physical fitness, those are all self-improvement, but they're things that I really wanted to do. And the more social I am, the more I do things like shoots, go out, travel, I don't have time for any of that stuff. And when I'm not doing those things, I have plenty of time for that. I have plenty of time to learn a new drawing style, learn how to cook. This is my time to boost skills that, whether or not they're creative skills, they add to the quality of your life, and potentially they could add to the quality of whatever creative endeavor it is that you choose to work in. Helping other people, this is definitely something that I encourage everybody to do, whether you're an INFP creative or not. But when you help other people, it makes you feel good because you realize that you can be of service to others. That maybe there's some people who are unable to leave their house because of a physical disability, and you get their groceries for them. I've had jobs in the past where I worked with kids. I did mentoring. I did help with their homework, after school programs when I was young. I worked in group homes where I taught social skills to people with developmental disabilities, volunteered at a hospital, and currently in the fitness realm, I'm helping people meet their health and wellness and fitness goals. So there's a lot of ways you can help other people. Probably any direction you look, there's somebody that could use some help one way or another. You could look in any direction and find somebody who needs some kind of help. It's hard to volunteer at a hospital, help people achieve their health and wellness and fitness goals, or mentor kids and show up and be like, oh, sorry, I'm broke and I have these relationship problems, blah, blah, blah. Like, you aren't gonna do that. You're gonna put all that stuff out of your head. And if you're the INFP creative, I think you are, you're gonna really enjoy every minute that you take engaging with other people, helping them out. No matter what it is, paint a fence. I drew a picture of my neighbor while we were just sitting and chatting, and it made him so happy. He shared it on all his social media, and people were giving him real fun compliments about how he turned out as an art model. It was great, and it made me feel good because I was making art that was of service to somebody else, not just something that nobody sees and ends up in a drawer on a hard drive somewhere. And then final tip for getting out of rock bottom is the unfinished project syndrome. We all have a bunch of stuff we've made in our lives and it never gelled into a final project. If you're an INFP, I've been told I'm daydreamy, scatterbrained, flighty. I accomplish a lot of what I set out to do, but it only looks like I accomplished everything I set out to do because I don't put the unfinished stuff out there. In the past, I might have mentioned I'm working on a comic about my daughter or something like that. Never finished it. Well, if you're basically hanging out at home and not doing a whole lot of things, look in your closets, look in your art boxes, look at wherever you stash your old things, maybe some old hard drives. You're gonna find music, illustrations, digital art, paintings, art supplies, stuff that you never used and never finished. Maybe it was because you ran out of time, you ran out of inspiration, you didn't think you had the skill to finish it then. Maybe today's the day. This is something that not just me, but I think a lot of the super creative people that I worship that are INFPs do. Keep bringing up Radiohead, but it's a great example because they have songs that go 20 years back, songs like Lift or True Love Waits. And these are tracks that people heard in the 90s and they're just coming out in the last couple of years because they finally figured out how to mix it or they had an anniversary release or whatever it is. But I think that's really cool, especially something like True Love Waits, which is so different from the pop version in the 90s. Now it's like very melancholic and it relates to the breakup of a 23-year relationship Tom had with his wife, who also passed away. There's just a lot of stuff that you have that you forgot about. Some of it's bad, some of it had a good idea that was never explored at the time because you weren't aware of the good idea. And you're gonna find some real gems in there. I'm surprised that I took good photographs in 1997, 1998, during the pandemic when we were all in lockdown. I got out my negatives that I'd never had scanned, never had printed, and scanned a bunch of them, and I was shocked. There was a lot of stuff I really liked. in that deep dive into my archive. And, you know, history always has a way of making art out of things that are old, like going into an antique store and picking up some old family photos that, you know, maybe they're 70 years old at this point, but because they speak to a certain time and place and style consciousness, they can be perceived as art today. So there you have it, some more actionable items that you can do to sort of get your INFP creative self back to center. Meet new people, make art out of your emotions, self-improve any way you can, dig through your archives, see what's there. I think whatever you choose to do with your rock bottom isolating period is a setup for the next great wave that you'll ride, the next wave of positivity that brings you to a new level in your life, wherever you're at. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.